Hello, welcome back everybody on my YouTube channel. I'm going to take today, look over my 1989 Mercury Grand Marquis. And the car's been in my family since 1991. It was my aunt's car, but I figured I'd share this video to everybody out there. These cars you don't see them like you used to, and here it comes. Yes, interestingly, this car was a 1989, but it was a very similar car from 1979 until 1991 when they totally redesigned the full-sized Fords and Mercuries. But it was about 700 pounds lighter than its 1978 and earlier predecessors. It's the proverbial downsized full-size car. In addition, this particular Mercury Grand Marquis, it is the LS model. A little bit fancier, like those alloy wheels and such you were looking at when we were looking down the side, but you will get a closer look at those later in the video. Indeed, when they quit making these in 1991, though, what for sure did, even though they did keep making the full-size Grand Marquis and Crown Victorias till 2011, but you definitely lost the steel bumpers and the chrome, and there you can see the fancy cornering lights. That's a nice touch there, built in the fender. Wanted to give you a close-up look at that. And there's another look at those very nice wheels, even though they are hard to clean. And we'll show you down the side of the car. Yes, interestingly, inflation's been in the news, but when this car was new, and I feel it was a lot of vehicle for the money, this price was just a little over $17,000. It's a fair amount of vehicle for the price. Indeed, Ford Motor Company did have it was a certain market that wanted the full-sized body on frame rear wheel drive car, but they did again soldier on longer with it in General Motors again till 2011 with the redesign in 1992 when General Motors gave up on it with the Chevy Caprice in 1996 and the last of the Cadillacs. Again, that's another look at it down the passenger side of the car. Car has nice lines as far as I'm concerned, nice and clean, not anything radical, but just a nice shape and style. Very conservative. Yeah, maybe it's just due to my age, born in the early 70s and grew up in the 80s and 90s, but I sort of have a favoritism towards the boxy style square look. At the time I didn't like it, but on the other hand, this new stuff is rounded and that is and I feel unusual looking. It's a break from the days cars looking at a car like this. Alright, I'm going to pop the hood and we'll go take a look here under there, which there was only one engine available till 1989, and that's what we have is the 302 sequential fuel injection. The earlier ones were throttle body injection, and way back the late 70s for a year or so they were fuel carbureted, although in the earlier ones the 351 was available, which would have been carbureted. Now, the Crown Victorias, if you have a police package up till they quit making this style in 1991, the 351 was what was in those, was a 4-barrel carburetor. And here now we're going to take and hop in around here and take a look at this stylish dashboard. And you can tell it's a car based in the 70s, only an 85 mile an hour speedometer. Although in 1989 in the state of Pennsylvania, the speed limit was still only 55 on the interstates. That did not change until 1991 in Pennsylvania. And there's just a fuel gauge, the rest of it is just the idiot lights. Precisely, you have a low washer fluid light, an engine light, a check engine light, low fuel, fasten seatbelt, and your alternator amp gauge. And ever turn it on, they're coming on to tell you that they're working. We'll go start the car up, and they all went out except, and this is something I just brought it out of storage for the winter, and the low fuel light's on, which it went out, but it's pretty low in fuel, and say it's just barely above the empty mark. So I was all ready to go take a drive, but we're going to take a time out on this, hop out, and go put some fuel in it. Now let's try this again. I put a can of gas in it. Yes, indeedy, the 5 gallons of gas. I brought it up to half a tank. Well, now it's settling down under, but now we can back out and we can go hit the road here for a short trip. And there you can see it's moved down the road, and the fuel gauge did settle just below the half, which I'll put more in later on, but it's going good, and it's a day about 85 degrees, and the air conditioning, I have the thermometer in, it's down to around 45, and it's on max. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a drive. Yeah, we're back, have the door open with the nice light in the door, rest when the door opens. Nice touch on that. Again, more back to the elegance there, of the personal luxury of the 70s era sort of luxury cars that lived on into the 80s and early 90s with thanks to the cars like this Grand Marquis. And there it has the premium sound, which it does have for the era, a nice sound system. On that subject, let's hop in the car here with the sitting still, pull our door handle here, our pull strap, shut the door, and we'll take a little bit of a look here. There's the fake wood dash, which was common again in cars like this. And again, you can see the Grand Marquis, they're proud of it, put right into the passenger side, that your passenger for sure know they're what they're riding in. And there is the sound system, the old school cassette player, AM FM, but of course, but with the LCD display, which will, it actually does work in this car yet, and I can tell I had the battery unhooked. It always goes on AM, and we'll put it here and we'll kick it here to the local station, and nothing. Because I did not have the antenna in the up position, which I do find that novel on this. It has the button you can put the antenna up and down. Personally, I hardly ever used the antenna because I listen to my MP3 player through the car radio, but you don't need the antenna for that purpose. And here's the dome light with the little nice little touch map lights on each side, so you can take and read your map, I suppose. And there is the seats. I do love these seats. That really soft plush cloth interior. This also is part of the LS package, these really plush seats. Also, you could leather, I guess, would have probably been more, but whoever bought the car, I say, wanted cloth, not the leather seats. And there's the front ones. They have survived well for the age of the car. And not only the seats, we'll go step around here. the really plushy besides the seats carries on into the carpet of the car. Let's bend down here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Once you go down, this is really nice and thick, this carpet. You can tell it's, again, look at the plush it is. And you can take and rub your hand over it. It's soft and it's really long fabrics. And if you notice, the car was quiet on the road. It's well insulated and padded. Interestingly, when they downsized these cars in 1979, some were called Marquis and some were called Grand Marquis going on the trim level. But starting in 1983, all the full size were called the Grand Marquis because the Marquis name was put on the Fox body style, the mid-size rear-wheel drive that Ford had based on, again, the Fox body platform. Which the Marquis, since again they were based on the Ford Mustang, although they had the four doors, they were a unibody car, unlike this is a full frame car. And there's another look here from the driver's side. Sadly, now that is one weak spot, that steering wheel, that leather covering's in bad shape. And this is interesting. Here is your wipers. The first notch is intermittent. There's 3 stops. The second one's low speed and the complete up one's high speed. And there's, of course, your turn signal switch. And there's the headlight switch. And now there's the emblem. It's got the hidden key to keep the ice and moisture out of it. Although, on the other hand, these could freeze up and break off. But it's still intact. And we'll open this and let's go take a look in the trunk area of the car. And again, it does have a nice spacious trunk. I mentioned earlier in the video the car's been in the family since 1991. It was my aunt and uncle's car. And when my uncle died, my aunt gave me the car. She's still living. But anyhow, in 1992, not long after they bought the car, I drove it down to North Carolina. They wanted to go on a trip. But it was more than enough room for our luggage. And there, which is funny, full-size car, and it just has the little small spare. But I guess never had to use it on that trip. But there is those wheels I said earlier in the video. I do love these wheels. They do make a beautiful touch on the car. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the white wall tires, but when the aunt gave it to me, she gave me money to buy tires that wore out, and she insisted the white walls stand out. So, well, we did that, and here is the vinyl roof. I did have to have the roof revinyled. It has the coach roof, which is what the partial vinyl is referred to. But it is, again, I've had it revinyled approximately 10 years ago, in 2012, when the car was given to me as a gift. And you can tell here just again how it comes partially up the roof line, the coach roof. And I do like in the B-pillar the nice little side lights, upper lights, I believe the terminology I've heard used on them. Okay, and there's another look down the passenger side of the car. Now we're going to go back in under the hood. There's the underhood label telling you, again, the only engine that is available, and this year Grand Marquis is the 5-liter sequential fuel injected 302. It's 150 horsepower, 270 foot-pounds of torque. It does the job. It's not, again, faster like some newer stuff, or again older, but it don't do bad. And then again, as on a trip, when we went to North Carolina that time, and the car only had like 40,000 miles, it did do roughly about 23 miles per gallon, which is not bad for a full-size car. And they're finned out on the engine size. Right there, Ford Motor Company proudly put it on the top of the upper intake. In addition, the engine compartment does look like a car that is pushing the age of it. It's not detailed or anything. I mean, it's not terrible, but I've never, like I say, worsted off or anything or tried detailing the car. Since I do drive it, I never really worry too much about a detailed engine compartment on a car you're going to drive in the summer like I do on a regular basis. And indeed, that's what car companies make cars for, is to drive. So, and here, something, let's go take a look down underneath the Mercury. Let's take a look at the dirty side instead of the shiny side up on top. And as you can see looking underneath here, typical rear-wheel drive car, coil spring front suspension with the upper and lower control arm. And you take and look closer at it, and there's your. And actually, I don't know how great you can see it in the video, but unlike newer cars, the tie rods, inner and outer, and all sort of ball joints do have grease fittings on them. They're not sealed from the factory and expect to last forever. And again, there you take a look back here, the whole length of it towards the rear of the vehicle. And there's the transmission pan, the AOD, I believe, the automatic overdrive, and it even says metric on the pan. Now, this car does only have single exhaust. Dual exhaust was optional, but this does not have it. It's just a single exhaust. And there you can see the frame of the car going back underneath. Again, it's got surface rust on it, but it's nice and solid. And the floor pan is also in the car. And there's the drive shaft running back from the transmission. Also, it's worthy note on this car, the frame is a full box frame. It's closed in like a comparable, like if you had a Chevy Caprice of this same year. In the middle of the car, the frame is only closed in on 3 sides, not the whole way. They're a well-built car. And on the subject of the exhaust there, you can see what I was talking about. It's single, but it starts off, it's like dual, but then it splits into one pipe. Yes, interestingly, it is amazing. This car is not perfect underneath, but there are no major rust holes or anything, because the aunt that owned the car and the uncle never did park it inside, and it always sat out in the winter till I owned the car. But on the other hand, they never drove it in the snow and the salt, so that was probably what did do wonders on that. And there's, again, what makes it the rear-wheel drive car, there's your rear axle. And here, they ought to sort of chuckle with this. There's the frame welding from the factory. It actually, not the greatest job on the looks of it, but it don't have to look good to be strong, but it is sort of comical there. But now there's where the back is smoothed out. And I hope you enjoyed watching this. This is getting pretty close to concluding our tour of the car from the inside, outside, underneath, engine compartment. And we'll let you, there's the close-up of the hood emblem. But yep, be sure to like, and I'd appreciate your subscription if you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.